Hi, I'm here to share some information about workplace violence. First, just a few statistics about workplace violence and how it's growing as a concern in America today. In America, there are more than 2 million employees reporting that they've been victim to a sort of non-fatal workplace violence. In 2014, 409 workers were fatally injured in work-related attacks, and about 1,000 fatal injuries happen each year as a result of violence in the workplace. So every employee has specific responsibilities they can do to maintain a neutral workplace. They can follow guidelines and rules that are set in place by the company, keep their own behavior in mind, and inform others and supervisors of issues that arise or people that they're working with that they may have a concern about. Managers and supervisors are to encourage employees to seek help through the company EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program. Most companies have this in place. It's usually through a hospital, a local hospital, or a therapist. And the managers and supervisors should also be there to do all of the acts that an employee would do, as mentioned before, and address issues that arise with employees, all while ensuring their employees that they are there to take these types of matters seriously. So the objectives in this training will be to recognize the growing concern of violence in the workplace, define the actions considered as workplace violence, identify who is at risk, know what happens after an act of workplace violence and by the employer, and to recognize how to reduce and or prevent workplace violence hazards. So we'll have to start out by defining what workplace violence is. OSHA defines workplace violence as any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening, disruptive behavior that occurs at the work site. So these three types of workplace violence fall into those categories: threats, verbal abuse, and physical assaults. And who can be affected? Employees, of course, customers or clients that are visiting your company, visitors, employees' families, and employers. So this is just a few examples of workplace violence. There are many more. We cross them probably multiple times in our life without noticing them or reporting them. So here is a few. Intimidation, stalking, spreading rumors or sabotaging someone's reputation, making inappropriate remarks, whether it be sexually, anything like that, robberies, which would obviously be from somebody that's not employed at the company, but that's in your place of business, stabbing, rape, yelling, suicide, shootings, threats, and murder. So recommended parts of a workplace violence prevention plan would be management commitment and employee involvement, worksite analysis, hazard prevention and control, and most importantly, training and evaluation. So after an act of workplace violence occurs, these are just a few things that I jotted down here in no particular order. Depending on a training program that your company has in place, these could be organized a little bit differently. Recommend that employees report anything that they have seen relating to the specific act of violence, and this would be reporting to upper management. Documentation is very important here. Let the victims know that their right is about pressing charges against the wrongdoer. So it is their right to do that. Provide or help employees seek any medical attention that's necessary if something really bad has happened. As the employer, it is our duty to let them know where they can go and help them along the way. Offer an EAP or stress debriefing session to all workers involved to help the recovery go smooth. This would be something that can either be held at the place of employment, or it can be the employee being sent to the employee assistance program. Report what has happened immediately to the local police, very important, and discuss any changes that must be made to stop acts like this from happening again. So there are ways to reduce or prevent workplace violence. Key fob entry at each door, along with metal detectors at all doors. ID cards and required sign-in at each entrance. I know my place of employment has both of those, key fob entry and ID cards or sign-in. Very important. Video surveillance cameras and well-lit parking lots. It just makes people feel safe having those two there. Always having more than one employee working at a time, especially after hours. Buddy system is important as well. Implementing an EAP for employees to reach out and seek help if in distress. Again, that EAP, very important. Develop policies and safety education and training on the job of violence, on the topic of violence in the workplace. Having policies in place and educating staff is very important. And employees should be sure to make supervisors aware of any concern and report all incidents as minor as they seem. That's a misprint. I apologize for that. And some things to know. Basic first aid training and what to have on hand. I've added a link here in this handout to the Red Cross. It's just how to prepare a basic first aid kit and what to have in it, what's important to have in it. And then how to apply a tourniquet. This is very important in the event of a stabbing, a shooting. This is a life-saving way to, act immediately. Easy, anybody can do it. Simple training process. It's very important to know. Some others, phone numbers and protocol of how to attain medical attention. Police department or first responders should be common knowledge for everybody, all employees, employers, managers, and supervisors. And this was a little known fact to me before I did this training. Although there is no OSHA standard pertaining to workplace violence, employers are obligated to provide a safe workplace under the General Duty Clause. I have also included a link there for that too. Workers have the right to file a complaint with OSHA if they believe their workplace is not following OSHA rules or that their workplace is hazardous. And workers have the right to a safe workplace, where knowledge and learning about safety topic is accessible to each employee. So remember, violence or threats of violence in all forms is unacceptable workplace behavior. It will not be tolerated, and it will be dealt with appropriately. So, to summarize everything that we've went over, workplace violence is a growing epidemic in America. There are many different forms and types, and they can be different from one occupation to the next. There are ways to prevent an act of violence from occurring, or to train employees on how to handle it if it does. After an act of violence occurs, there are expectations from employers and employees to follow through on. And I've listed a couple links here for additional resources. Thank you.